party all right!
Tonight, we've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews.
Everybody's gonna hang out here tonight!
All right!
We'll pass out on the couch! All right!
Tonight, we've got nothing better to do than watch TV and have a couple of brews. Don't talk about anything else. We don't want to know. We're dedicated to our favorite shows.
And tonight, our favorite show is NXT Takeover 25, coming to you live from Webster Bank Arena in Bridgeport, Connecticut. Brought to you by the good people at the World Wrestling Entertainment. I'm your host, the mandated reporter, and frankly, I'm mortified, Mr. Mark Radulich. And joining me tonight is the night. It's a beautiful night. First, he is Mr. Jelly Donut himself, the disapproving dad, Jesse Starcher. How do you do, sir?
Mark Radulich, it's Sunday night, getting ready for Monday morning, and the kids are on summer break. I don't know whether to smile or to be upset that I got to go to work tomorrow. So
your kids are already out of school, because I know in New York school doesn't end until like the middle of June.
Yeah, dude, they were out last Thursday. So
really?
Yeah, man. Kira's got summer gym though, so I still got to get my ass up early and still take her to school. But that lasts for about a week and a half, and then I can finally sleep in for an extra half hour and enjoy myself.
We're putting Jonas on screen limits. He gets an hour in the morning and an hour in the evening, and the rest of the day he has to find something else to do other than be on television, or he will grow tree roots.
He will not move from that spot.
No. I actually made him watch the main event of this show because I insisted that we had to at least have an hour of family time all together in the same room.
Oh, okay. All right.
And my son said, "How long is this going to take?" And I went, "Well, given this is NXT between Adam Cole, Bebe, and Johnny Gargano, probably an hour and a half." Speaking of which, we have on the show tonight Chris Bailey. How do you do, sir?
Well, I'm still crusty and curmudgeon-y, and yes, I can't wait to dive in and talk about some AEW Double or Nothing. Wait a second. I missed that one, didn't I? Damn. Okay, wait. Okay, it must be the WWE Super Show live from Jeddah. No.
From where?
Oh, right, nowhere. Sorry. Whoa. Uh-oh. Fourth wall, people. Oh, we're here to talk some NXT TakeOver, and you know what? Thank God.
And from the Bowery, ladies and gentlemen, what about him? It's Chris Sheehan. How do you do, sir?
Hey, how you doing? Been a long weekend. I managed to fit this show in between dissertations and research and theorizing, and actually some of the matches were headier than what I was doing, so there you go.
Well, it's good to have you on the show, Chris. And by the way, I simply adore your accent. As a matter of fact, I like to say that New Yorkers don't have an accent. This is how God talks.
There you go.
All right. So part of this started because Jesse and I talked about AEW Double or Nothing, and he had an opinion, and I said, before you settle on that opinion, I want to challenge you to watch NXT TakeOver, and if I'm wrong and it's not better than AEW, then I believe your opinion will be valid. And now here we are, a day removed from NXT TakeOver, Jesse's first NXT TakeOver. Jesse, I'm going to go to you first. What did you think of the event overall?
Oh, wow. Top to bottom, I had a good time. I mean, there was a little bit of I wouldn't say a lag, but I mean, I think that when we talk about the women's match, it was probably maybe the weakest match on here, but I think a lot of times when you're put together a show that is this fast-paced, then you got to kind of wind things down for the crowd a little bit. It's unfortunate that the women's match may have done that, but either way, Mark, overall, Whew, yeah, I think this one left AEW in the dust.
Agreed. I just want to get some general thoughts here. First, just tell us your history with the NXT Takeover events, and what did you think of this one overall? Chris Bailey.
Well, I've watched NXT since episode 1, so I'm very, very familiar with the brand. I've seen every single one of these takeover specials, right on up from 1 right on to 25 right here tonight. And you know what? This is the WWE secret weapon. So if you want to talk about AEW, this is what they do to combat that, sir. When you talk about Riddle and Strong, I mean, off the charts, Gargano and Cole, it's like I said good day, sir, and slam the door right back in your face.
Mr. Sheehan, what about you? Are you have you seen all of these? What's going on there?
I've watched all the takeovers, but I'm not like a week to week NXT viewer. I usually forget about it. I forget about basically I try to forget about Raw and SmackDown, but then I accidentally forget about things like 205 Live and NXT and NXT UK. But I do come back for the takeover events. This one kind of caught me off guard since it's not anchoring a pay-per-view super show. This isn't like SummerSlam weekend or Royal Rumble weekend. It's just a weekend. So kind of caught me off guard, but I am glad that I checked it out. I really had a good time with it. I did have some concerns, some complaints, but we'll get into those deeper as we move on, I suppose.
Yeah, we'll take these match by match. So the whole deal with this was, I believe there was supposed to be a WWE event this weekend, but it got canceled because of the Saudi Blood
Super
Money show.
Yeah.
It's the official name, Saudi Blood Money. So my understanding is that they was like, okay, well, they can't do 2 main shows back to back, but they'll leave the NXT show on, and then occasionally they'll run one of these without an anchor event. And I'm glad they did, because this one was really, really good. Not perfect, not by a long stretch, and there are some issues I have with it as well. So let's take them one by one. Let's start off with King of the Knee Strikes, Matt Riddle. Jesus Christ. Who defeated Roderick Strong of the Undisputed Era. Let's go around the horn here. I'll give you my impressions first, and then I'll go to you guys. I thought these guys put on a hell of a match. Matt Riddle, I agree. One of the few things I agree with Bruce Pritchard on is that Matt Riddle really is probably got the most potential of anyone in NXT, with the exception of the Velveteen Dream. Matt Riddle is a future star. He's a future main eventer, and my hope. I had 3 birthday wishes. 2 of them were that Matt Riddle and Velveteen Dream don't get called up to the main roster until Vince is dead. And that third one I'll keep to myself. But I really enjoyed Matt Riddle versus Roderick Strong. My complaint, and I want to get your guys' opinion on this, is number 1, we've sort of we're well into the era of wrestling where finishers don't finish anyone. And there's not a tremendous amount of psychology in the matches anymore. It's just kind of, they just hit, it's like part 1 of a match is feeling each other out, doing some moves. Maybe there's some psychology. Maybe they might even work a limb or 2. Then there's the middle part where, they're trying to get to a finisher, but there's reversals and reversals and reversals. Then the third part of the match is just hitting your finisher 76 times. The other guy hits his finisher 87 times. And then they run out of time and go home. And you're like, what happened here? The other issue with this, and then I'll turn it over to you guys, the 1.2 million knee strikes. After this match, I was like, no one needs to do another knee strike on this whole fucking show.
The rest of the decade.
So I'll go to you. I'll go to you first, Sheehan. You want to add to anything that I've said there? What were your opinions of Riddle versus Strong?
I pretty much agree with everything you said. I think Riddle is he's the guy moving forward. I think smart money's on him main eventing NXT before long, and then hopefully they don't mess him up on the main roster. And I mean, he should be headlining WrestleMania within the next 5 years. I mean, he's just phenomenal. The 2.99999 counts after 70,000 finishers, that needs to stop. That needs to really, because the finishers, it's like when you think about like the Attitude Era where every match had blood, every match had chairs, every match had tables. It made it so tables, chairs, and blood didn't mean anything anymore.
Right.
And here we are where just everybody's finishers are just getting murdered because they're hitting them over and over again, and they're getting these 2.9 counts. And not just once or twice in a match. As we get deeper into the show, it's like a dozen times in the match we're having these very, very, very near kickouts, and it's really just I think it's hurting the product overall. And the knee strikes.
Roughly,
go ahead.
Roughly 20. I want to let you finish. Roughly 20 years ago, The Rock and Steve Austin had their return match at WrestleMania 17, and what everyone remembers about that match, other than the shitty heel turn for Steve Austin, was they kept kicking out of each other's finishers.
Yep.
And that was groundbreaking at the time. Now it's an everyday occurrence. Fucking Zack Ryder does it.
That's probably one of the top 5 problems with WWE right now. They find something that works by accident, and then they just won't stop with it. I mean, we had, not to totally go on a tangent here, we had the Daniel Bryan build going up to WrestleMania 30, where, you had that impression where, he wasn't the guy they chose, and
sure.
All these things fell into place, and everybody got behind him. And now they think that that's the only way to build stars. We had Kofi Kingston go to this recent Mania. It was built organically, and then they have to bring Vince in to say, "Oh no, you're not the guy," because they need to do the same thing as the Daniel Bryan push, the Daniel Bryan run up to Mania. They think there's only one way to create a star. They did it with Kofi. They did it with Becky this year, and like you said, with Austin and Rock. They had those groundbreaking near kickouts, those near pins. And then they were even stealing each other's finish and kicking out of that. And now it's just every single match. It's not special. It's nothing anymore.
The WWE has gone from being kind of a pop-up restaurant type way of doing wrestling. They were creating new things. They were trying new things. Not everything was successful, but it was sort of an exciting thing. They were the exciting restaurant to walk into, and boy, have they become McDonald's.
It's I equate it to things like you have sitcom fatigue, where all the characters the little quirks that a character might have define them after a little while. You have thinking about a show like Full House, where you have the father who's just a father, and then he becomes he's a father with quirks about being neat and tidy. And then he's running around the house with a dustbuster. He turns into a cartoon character. Right. And that's what WWE is doing here. It's just there's no organic build to anything. It's just it's like what is it? It's senior spring. Your finals are done. You're just playing out the clock, and that's what it kind of feels like. And back to the match here, and I apologize for going off there, but the knee strikes, they got to calm down with the knee strikes. I don't know who started with the knee strikes. This might be a Japanese thing, because I think I saw that in some clips of I don't remember which Japanese star it was, but it was a lot of knee strikes, and now everybody's doing knee strikes, no matter who they are, how it fits into their moveset, if it fits into their moveset. It's knee after knee after knee, and it's just tiring.
I told this story the other day on a couple of podcasts. My son and I were watching AEW, and I was watching it. He was jumping on top of me. He occasionally looked at the TV to see what I was watching, but he wasn't that interested. He started to do a thing where he would run across the couch and jump onto leap onto my shoulder, which was fine. He's 5 and he's a string bean, so he's not particularly heavy. And and I'm sitting, so it's not like I have to hold him up or anything. So the first 106 times he did it, it was flawless and he didn't hurt me. 107, knee to the back of the head, right behind the ear. I mean, Daniel Bryan and Joey Janela were both hurt Daniel Bryan because he's king of the knee strikes. That's kind of the answer to your question there, Chris. And Joey Janela because Jesse knows what I'm talking about.
He's the most empathetic wrestler. He runs around back and he just feels everybody else's moves. Not done to him.
So my son kneed me in the back of the head and Joey Janela fell down. And I'll tell you, you've never felt pain. And it was a total accident, but again, it was all momentum. You've never felt pain like a knee to the back of the head right behind the ear. And when I look at these knee strikes that Matt Riddle and Roderick Strong were doing to each other, I was like, first of all, if this were in any way real, these two would be dead, not able to do knee strikes. Yep. You take a knee to the face the way Matt Riddle was delivering them, or even Roderick Strong at times, and after about the second one, they're carting your ass off to the hospital, and you don't know math anymore.
Local medical facility.
Chris Bailey, triple Chris Bailey. Your thoughts, sir?
All right, so I think you've uncovered the fatal flaw in NXT. So basically, if you look at every single match on the card, it follows that exact formula you're talking about of the, close call. Oh my God, we're going to hit each other's finisher. We're going to kick out. That's basically the entire formula of NXT. We don't have there's certain points in this card where I'm begging for a count out finish, for God's sake. I mean, come on, somebody do something different. Okay, I get it. You kicked out of your finisher over and over and over. That's the one knock that I got against NXT. It's the same formula served over and over to us, but you know what? The matches are so good, it doesn't even matter. I'm like, yeah, that's perfectly acceptable, even though it's the same routine that I saw the match before. So, you know what? Who cares? So this particular match had the same particular formula. What I'll start with is, when the hell did Roddy wake up? Where were they hiding this guy? Was he hid in the closet for an entire year? This is Roddy from ROH we're looking at here right now. He's been held back or had the chains on him for a long time. I mean, he's been doing some tag team wrestling here, and this is the first time that I've seen Roderick Strong completely ramped up to his full potential. And man, him and Riddle had a classic here. Mm-hmm. One comment about Riddle. So when you talk about a main roster call-up, what do you do with the guy? How are they going to brand this guy? So right now they're branding him with his moves. He's the bro. He's got the broton. He's got the bro mission. And, what is he going to look like when he comes to the main roster? Is he going to be a trash man, a rooster? What the hell is this guy going to be? We don't know. But right now it seems like Matt Riddle is definitely looking like RVD 2020 here right now. I mean, this guy is he is showing all the signs of, RVD from back in the day when he was hot in ECW, man. This guy has it all. Talk a little bit about knee strikes. Oh, good Lord. So I had the complaint on Raw, I'm getting sick of the sling blade. That's one move that I absolutely, every time I see it, it turns my stomach. And when I watched AEW Double or Nothing, it was loaded with either super kicks, knee strikes, or the damn sling blade. So, knee strikes were, a nice cup of water here on this one. It seems like we transition every generation to, the 90s was the super kick party. You know what I mean? Everybody was doing the damn super kick. Now here we are, in the 2000s, and we're doing knee strikes. Everybody does knee strikes. However, there's one slowly creeping in the background. The Canadian Destroyer.
Oh, yes.
Jesus Christ.
Boys, listen. I saw Ricky Morton do a Canadian Destroyer on a frickin' indie show. Ricky Morton. He's 900 years old. Dustin Rhodes did it on the Double or Nothing. It's coming. I'm telling you right now. Canadian Destroyer. And you'll see it a little bit later on in the show, of course. It's called a little something different. We'll get into it.
That is the one move that should not be overused.
No, you're throwing yourself into the move. You're flipping
it has the word
into
destroyer in it. It has the word destroyer in it. It should destroy somebody. It should be done and over with. Yeah.
You're damn right. And let's take a look at Matt Riddle's. So since he's been here, he's had a great run. So I mean, he got brought in against Cassius Ohno. Did the thing with Velveteen Dream where they tease the heel turn. And man, you know what? When they turn the gas on Matt Riddle as a heel, he is going to be molten hot, man. I'm telling you right now, because this guy can chain wrestle. This match was smooth. There's one transition I want to call out in particular. It's when they did the go to sleep, hello CM Punk, right into the German suplex. And I mean, this is crisp action. And you know what? Probably my second favorite match on this show, and I'll fill you in a little bit later. But yeah, so that's my comment on this, man. Stellar opening.
Yeah, I think it was a great. If we're going to call this the curtain jerk, which I think this was, they had 2 dark matches before this, according to the wiki, but or matches that'll be televised later. Either way, so yeah, my introduction to NXT, it was this match. This is my first match that I've ever watched, and I remember, I have no idea who either of these guys are. I think I may have seen Strong and ROH at one point, but I'm going into this. I have no clue.
Matt Riddle is a former UFC fighter.
Okay, all right. Now, how is he on the mic? Is he good at all? I didn't, other than just seeing him walk out and go bro and bro fist everybody. I didn't.
You got it. I think that's his entire deal. Bro.
So Matt Riddle was caught a couple of times testing positive for marijuana use.
No way.
And then he would do these really entitled interviews after the fact going, bro, I don't understand why when I'm not fighting I can't smoke pot. And Nate Diaz kind of would lift his head up and go, "Me too, boss." So that's kind of Matt Riddle. That seems to have gone away since he's gone into professional wrestling. But that's kind of him in a nutshell, Jesse.
Okay, all right. Well, the other comment I have here, I mean, other than being like, I was in a chat with Mark as this was going on, and I said, at the end of the match, I was really impressed with what happened, and I said, the crowd was so into it. That is one thing that you just don't see very much anymore, is a crowd that hot for a show. And I got that sense that this was, not only was the crowd impressed with what was going on, they were into it. They were fans, which is a nice thing to have when you have professional wrestling going on in front of you. Have some fans that actually give a shit. And this was, a phenomenal match. I just was like, how do we follow this up? And of course, we follow this up with, as Mark said, with 8 guys falling off ladders, and which is perfect. But the other thing that I kind of want to point out here before we move on to the next match is that, you guys are talking about this kicking out of finishers in the first match. And when we get to the last match, it almost becomes egregious. It's ridiculous. I'll suspend my disbelief, but, and granted, I was still into it. I was still having a good time, but, at some point you're just like, wow, okay, they don't matter anymore. They just don't.
It is the wrestling equivalent of "and then the dam broke, but it was too late." I mean, I make the joke about these matches, and AEW is just as guilty of this. It seems to be, it's the one thing I can say about WWE proper is that they don't let this sort of thing happen. These people will kick out of a gunshot to the head. Let's move on here to the car wreck known as the 4-way ladder match for the NXT vacated NXT Tag Team Championships. Of course, the War Raiders were called up to the main roster. I'm going to get there. Hang on. The War Raiders were called up to the main roster. Vince brought them into a room. When they came out, their pants were down, they were crying, and one of them had a black eye, and they were known as the Viking Experience.
Gosh.
Ouch.
So, they're done. That was they had a good run while it lasted. And this is why I don't want Velveteen Dream or Matt Riddle being called up, because I really don't want to see Vince fuck them on top of a pinball machine. Come on, anyone?
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding.
I have.
It's a reference to, I believe it's Boys Don't Cry, Jesse.
Okay. All right.
Anywho, so this is the Street Profits, who I've seen them for a while now. I was like, meh. I liked you better when you were Crime Time. But but they really
not the same people.
They really impressed me, and I'll get to that in just a second. Montez Ford, you ninja, you.
Unbelievable.
Oni Lorcan and Danny Burke were the other tag team. Then you had the Undisputed Era. Kyle Ouch My Back O'Reilly. And
that's what the O stands for, is ouch.
Ouch.
Ouch Riley.
And Bobby Fish. And then you have the Forgotten Sons, Wesley Blake, who was used to be in a tag team with
Blake and Murphy.
Buddy Murphy, when they were managed by Alexa Bliss, the also hot Alexa Bliss, and Steve Cutler. And at the end of the night, the Street Profits had a well-deserved win and sent the fans home happy, and they are your new NXT Tag Team Championships until they're beaten tomorrow. I'm going to let you guys. We spent a long time on Matt Riddle and Roderick Strong, so I don't want to belabor this. But I have to say, this was a great match. I mean, when you watch a ladder match, you're coming for carnage, and this one delivered. I think my only complaint about this was the amount of damage these guys were taking. This really needed blood. It was a little unbelievable. These guys could be falling on their heads as often as they were, and Kyle O'Reilly had some marks on his back, but that was about it. But as I said, Montez Ford had a leap over the towards the end of the match, had a leap over the top rope where he didn't quite make it, but whoever he was doing it to sold it well enough that he could cover for him. Later on in the evening, Gargano's going to have the same problem with Adam Cole, baby, but we'll get there. Anyways, Montez Ford did this crazy leap over the ring where he landed, he went ass over tea kettle and landed back first, and I was like, well, he's dead.
Multiple people died and came back to life in this match. It was crazy.
Kyle O'Reilly landed on his back on a ladder on his back more times than Joey Janela landed on his fucking head. And then lastly, Montez Ford did this combine vertical leap onto the ladder, which I think the other guy just died. It was like Montez Ford hit that ladder. The other guy was like, "Mercy!" and fell over backwards. And the Street Profits win. So let's go around the horn again. Chris Sheehan, the ladder match. Go.
I thought it was really, really good. It's been a long time since I've seen a ladder match with a tag team ladder match, I should say. And thought it was pretty fantastic. I don't have much of a frame of reference for whatever an Oni Lorcan is. That sounds like something that swims really fast underwater. I don't know what that is, but I can tell he's a talented fella.
He actually changed that up from his former name, Biff Busick. So
Wow. Okay. Yeah. I got to flip a coin on that one.
There.
But O'Reilly, he came into the match, and I was just looking at how much I hated looking at his face. But cause, I mean, it's just like that's a punchable face. But he won me over. I mean, he died for everyone's sins during that match. He wound up. Like you said, he landed on his back on the ladder, but it wasn't always the ladder laying down flat. It was sometimes the edge. I mean, he tattooed himself everywhere he could on this ladder, and just sold it like mad. But it has those same inherent problems as any ladder match where it is unbelievable. Especially you have no blood there where there really probably should have been, and the fact that they could actually move and the Street Profits could actually celebrate after the match is just kind of wild. The Solo Cup gimmick, I don't know what that's all about. But I don't think I'd be drinking anything that someone in the crowd handed me if I was one of them. I
gotta go. I'm assuming the gimmick is la-di-da-di, the Street Profits like to potty.
Sure, they got to get up to get down. But I went to the old ECW shows back home, and Tommy Dreamer would always come into the crowd, and he would take somebody's beer and drink it. And I'm just like, dude, you don't know what's in there. I mean, that could be like chew,
Oh, wasn't that one of the things he did on WWE television at one point?
That's when he did the Jackass gimmick. Yeah.
Gosh. Never felt more sick to my stomach. I mean, Draws could throw up in front of me, I'd have no problem. But drinking out of a spittoon is just going to be the end of me.
I have to say, I feel like when they were working out this match with the agent, it was like, you're going to do this, you're going to do this, and they turned and they went to Kyle O'Reilly, and they were like, who are you going to mostly work with in this match? And he went the ladder.
That's it. They're going to have a return match next time.
Yeah.
But the only real time I felt it lagging is when the third Forgotten Son, whose name I ironically forgot.
That's I don't know what they're calling. They could have. As far as I'm concerned, his name is he could be Ham Sandwich, but he was Gunner.
Jackson Riker.
Okay.
Jackson Riker. Okay, I've never heard that name before.
He was Gunner in Impact Wrestling.
Oh, is he the one who? Is he the one who got signed to an Impact contract like 400 times in a day, or is that a different guy?
No idea.
I think you might be right.
Okay, because I remember like they tweeted out that he got signed to a long-term deal like 6 or 7 times in a single day, but I guess he's out of it now. But that's when the match really started to slow down for me. I liked him coming out and kind of cleaning house, but then they spent way too much time with his comeuppance, and that's the fellow who what's his face Montez Ford jumped out of the ring onto, and you know had the near miss there. But that just seemed to really drag it down. But I understand why they did it, to give the guys a moment to cool down. But I felt like that really kind of put a crimp in the flow of the match.
Chris Bailey.
Oh boy, do I have a lot to say about this one. But I think we'll start with let me see. So I always like to think, what are the positioning of these guys? Like, who are they pushing in this match? Obviously Street Profits won. But what's their end game? And you know what? They're really trying to get over these Forgotten Sons. And you know what? Nobody cares about the Forgotten Sons. They are the alpha flight of wrestling characters. Nobody cares. But you know what? This Jackson Riker guy, you can tell Vince has a bone around for this guy. Like, he is Roman Reigns #2, right? He's, oh my God, damn, pal, look at that guy, steroids, damn.
Very vascular.
He's very vascular. I love it. He's got the hair, the hair starting to fall out. He's got the pimples busting over his back. This guy is jacked to the gills. Now, I'm not saying that the guy's on anything. I don't want to commit myself to that. But, hey, take a look at the guy. He's jacked.
It wouldn't be the first time this weekend we accuse somebody on this network of being on drugs.
I can imagine. I want to talk about as well, I know you guys talked about the Solo Cup party. I want to share a little story I had. So I attended, I think it was WrestleMania 33. Now, all these things that they hand out are just gimmicks that, the producers hand out to you ahead of time, and they go, hey, you're going to be on camera. So I was at WrestleMania. I'm sitting there minding my business. Someone goes with a sign and hands it to me. And he goes, hey, you'll be on camera. Just hold this sign. And it's a Bailey section sign. All of a sudden, I'm, on camera, and I'm holding my little Bailey section sign. So it's the same deal with these cups. Here's a cup. You'll get on camera. Just wave them around. So, you think that everyone brought them, from home. Oh, my God, look how popular Street Profits are. Nope. They give them out, folks. Sorry to burst the bubble. And speaking of the Street Profits, I have never seen a more one-sided team since the Rockers. I mean, Montez Ford is, like you said, he is an absolute ninja. He stole the whole show. Just rewatch this match and take a look at Angelo Dawkins shitting the proverbial bed in this one.
Otherwise known as the spiritual successor to D'Lo Brown.
You got it, sir. He is. He looks just like the guy. However, there's one fall. All these guys are taking ridiculous bumps. I mean, you talk about Kyle O'Reilly taking crazy bumps. Montez Ford, pretty well dying. Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch. I mean, these guys are killing themselves. But guess what? Not Angelo Dawkins. Nope. He takes probably the lightest fall I've ever seen from a ladder. I think he falls from like the second to bottom rung onto the mat, sells it like he's been hit by a truck when, it's just a sad situation. Of course, I want to call out the spot. I think there's Lorcan and Birch. I think they ducked under the ladder to do a double suplex on the Suns while their heads were inside a ladder.
Oh my God!
Goes flying, almost killing Kyle O'Reilly, man.
I honestly thought someone was going to die, like literally die during that spot.
Get your heads out of there.
First, when they did the suplex with the ladders on their head, I didn't think the ladder was going to fly off. So I looked at my wife and I'm like, I've never done this in wrestling in my life. This is like a horror movie thing for me. I literally looked at him like, I can't look.
It is crazy. And I think they did the right thing putting Street Profits over. However, could you not have solved this entire thing by just having the Street Profits beat the Viking Experience? Or the Viking Warriors? My God, sorry.
They're still crying in a corner, Chris. What do you want them to do? They're
It's
assholes.
the pinball machine, and Vince is giving it to them. Ding, 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 ding.
Their assholes are bleeding. What do you want them to get it all over the place?
I love the Viking Experience. God damn it, pal.
You know,
But yep, that's my thoughts.
Vince McMahon had him in the closet just yelling up, "This is good shit, pal."
So think about this. So let's talk about call-ups again. So if any of these guys are called up, I think the Street Profits are built like this. This is a team built for SmackDown. If they showed up tomorrow, it'd be a seamless transition. I think that poor old Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, I think they would be 205 live for life, I think. Which is a shame because these guys are amazing. I don't know if anyone watches Ring of Honor, but O'Reilly and Fish were absolute standouts in that particular. But I think with the current mentality of WWE, I think they would be fighting the Lucha House Party over there on 205 Live for life. I think, and poor Oni Lorcan and Danny Burch. I think they will be on NXT for the rest of their natural born life.
Quick correction. Boys Don't Cry is a different brutal rape scene. The one I'm referencing was The Accused, by the way, 1988 film.
Okay. Yeah, I'm going to go right out and seek it and find it and watch it right after this podcast.
Yeah, we're going to do a commentary on it with the kids in the room.
No, pass. No.
All right, go ahead, Jesse.
Oh, yes. Okay. All right. Well, so, yeah, the only guys I had heard about or heard of going into this were the Undisputed Era, Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Just like Hero said there, Chris Bailey. They're from Ring of Honor, and I remember watching when these guys, I don't know if they were just starting in it, but they had, this is back, I think, in 2011, 2012, maybe. Anyway, there was some spots in this match that were just off the fucking hook. I mean, just insane. I'll tell you the one thing that stuck out was Montez Ford hitting the most fluid off-the-top rope neck breaker I've ever seen in my entire life. The guy looked like he was floating in air, flipping. I believe it was Montez that came off of there and hit that neck breaker. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I mean, it was. I just remember going, I've never seen anything so crisp, as we've used that term earlier. It was crazy. So, yeah, that guy has got – the sky's the limit for him, in my opinion. I don't think the Street Profits are – if anybody's – I don't know if those two are going to stay together, to be honest. Just like you said, if Montez Ford is going to have a way better chance on his own getting called up instead of dead weight.
He'll get called up, and they'll put another guy in as the new Street Profits. Maybe Al Snow's available.
Hey, bring him on. All right, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed this, and they followed up Riddle and Strong just fine. I mean, this was another. I was like, okay, well, they did it. They definitely topped the first match, which I didn't know could be possible. But wow, what a fun! I had a fun time watching it. I had a lot of fun watching it.
All right, let's move on here to the next match. The Velveteen Dream, who I don't know if Vince knows this guy exists, because I'm a little confused as to why he hasn't been called up yet. I feel like whenever Vince doesn't actually watch NXT, he just goes to Triple H and is like, who can we bring? Our ratings are a -10. Who can we bring up from NXT to spice things up a bit, Paul? And he's like, oh, you're gonna have this person, you're gonna have this person. He was just like, do you got anyone like The Rock? And he's like, no. Nope. It's like, I've heard this name, the Velveteen Dream. You were having a dream, Vince. You were having some sort of a vision. There is no Velveteen Dream. This guy has got main event money printed all over him. I want to see a double main event next year at WrestleMania here in Tampa, and I want it to be Matt Riddle versus the Velveteen Dream, and then the other main event is Ace Romero versus Barrington Hughes, because,
Because heavyweights.
Because heavyweights. You don't know who they are, Google them, have yourself a laugh. But they sent poor Tyler Breeze back down because he's not tall enough to ride the main roster ride. So they got rid of him. And, look, Tyler Breeze is a good worker. He's about 4 feet tall, so unfortunately There's only so much they can do with him. But he had a good match with the Velveteen Dream. Unfortunately, a lot of what I said about Matt Riddle and Roderick Strong, you could say about this one too. It's, they fight. Kick out. Lobster. That's it. I mean, this one, it was a very colorful match. It was a very fun match. I had no problems with it, but it followed the same structure that we talked about before, right, Sheehan?
Absolutely. And I definitely agree with you with Dream. He is a one in a million. This guy has just taken. Because I mean, he came from the Tough Enough, the latest Tough Enough, right? And he was kicked off pretty early, right?
He was kicked off by Hulk Hogan because, according to Hogan, he had no charisma.
Ruh-roh.
What? Oh
was that? Did Hulk Hogan say that or Terry Bollea? Who said which one? Said that?
I believe it was Terry Bollier's penis.
Okay. So not the thermos then. Not
right.
The thermos. Okay. But he's just phenomenal. I actually saw him live. In last summer, they came out to Phoenix, and he's just amazing. Just oozes charisma here, and the ending of this match was never really in doubt. I didn't think Tyler was going to come back and shock the world and take the belt, but it feels like they should have done a little bit more. I'm tired of the indie respect spot. I'm like after going to so many ECW shows where it's like. They do the kick up, the hip toss, the nip ups, the reversals, this, that, and the other, and then they stop, they pause, they stare at each other, and the crowd applauds. It's like, okay, we don't need. Can we stop? I mean, it's one of those things that was special the first couple times, but it's just too much now. And we have Breeze not winning the match. It was a little dirty, and they have the respect spot at the end, and I thought that. That kind of puts a pin in it. I don't know where do you go with Breeze now? Do you bring Fandango in and have him do redo the tag team in NXT, or do you is he just an opening card guy, or is he just an enhancement talent at this point? I think that there should have been a little bit more of a heated ending or a non-ending instead of this respect one. I don't know. I think that there's a lot more that Breeze can bring to the table than just being the veteran, like the Cassius Ohno, just a smaller version. Mm-hmm. And that kind of feels like where they're filing him away for now, and I think that's a pretty bad deal for him.
This was the match where instead of doing what they did in the first match, this is the one where they should have watched that and go, okay, so we can't do knee strikes, obviously, but the other thing we can't do is hit a single finisher. We can try, but this match needed reversals and escapes.
Sure.
It needed reversals, it needed escapes, and Tyler Breeze needed a fucking snap at some point.
He did. He needed to just go, because he's one of those guys, you have the in the indies and stuff, you have those guys who are just so beloved by the crowd and respected by the crowd that they kind of eclipse being a face or a heel. And I think Breeze is of that breed right now, because even before he came up the first time, the fans just loved him. He could be a heel, and they loved him. He could be a babyface, and they loved him. It's just that they respected the work that he did. Right. And I think there needs to be more than that. I think there needs to be a fire in his belly. I think he should have snapped, just beat the hell out of Dream with the belt or something, or smash the cell phone over his head. Just do something.
You just took the word right out of my mouth. That would have been the finish for me. When Velveteen Dream does the selfie with the phone, at that point, I would have just had him run out there, waylay him with the fucking chair, right, and then take the phone and smash it over the Velveteen Dream's face, and then put kind of mush his face in the belt, and then walk away.
Yeah, because that could even go further to where maybe this isn't Tyler's gimmick anymore. Maybe this selfie gimmick is just because it has run its course. It ran its course years ago. So maybe smashing the phone could symbolically be him moving into whatever his new character is going to be, or whatever next stage of his career is going to be, to rebuild and get back to where he really ought to be, because he's a wonderfully talented guy.
Play with his Egyptian heritage. I'm not going to do the obvious terrorist joke. I
don't know these guys, by the way. I don't know these guys.
It's low-hanging fruit. But I honestly think you're absolutely right. I think that what they should have done was put the selfie gimmick the millennial gimmick to bed, and then have him come out on NXT. And honestly, he kind of should have followed the Shawn Michaels model of he's the smaller guy who needs protection, and then give him a heater. Sure. I think they brought Killian Dane back to NXT because the fucking thing with
Sanity.
Sanity utterly fell apart. So I think
or give him Luke Harper. Give Luke Harper something to do.
Mm-hmm. Other than release him from his contract to AEW, which is what he wants.
Whoa. Luke Harper needs to eat that crow.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think if Vince is like, I'm not letting you out of your contract, pal, then give him to Tyler Breeze as a heater. Like they did the same thing with Daniel Bryan. He's another one following the Shawn Michaels Diesel model. Yep. Of they wanted to make him a heel and they gave him a heater and it works. By the way, Eric Rohan, loving the t-shirts, pal. If you haven't seen this yet, every week he's got a new metal t-shirt that we cover on the Metal Hammer of Doom. Mm-hmm. Chris Bailey.
All right, Velveteen Dream, $1 million gimmick. So I mean, pretty basic when you think about it. I mean, he's playing the am I gay? Not really. I'm sort of on the fence. Someone's falling over the other side, but he also does, very cleverly and very well, he jumps on the other people's gimmick. So he's done the Hulk Hogan gimmick. He's done the Freddie Mercury. He's done Prince. And, of course, he's pulling off some Elton John action here at Takeover.
Was his gimmick, was it Hunter Hearst Helmsley that he did yesterday? Because he did the bow.
It was Elton John.
Okay.
Yeah, apparently. I don't know. Anyway, that's so. I think he's got $1 million gimmick. I think that he is definitely built for the main roster. I believe you're right when you say that. I don't think Vince knows this guy exists. I think Triple H has him in his back pocket for if a guy goes down. So I think that Dream will be called up very soon. Or do you think that they'd give this guy a run at the world title here in NXT? I don't know. But, he's got it all. I mean, he's got the Dream Valley Driver. He's got the Purple Rainmaker elbow. I mean, this, he's got quite the package going on there. A bit about the match. I think the problem with this match, overall, despite all the multiple finishes and the clever kickouts, was the predetermined ending. I mean, I don't think there was any question that Velveteen Dream was going over in this one. So, and I think one good thing that we didn't call out was the announcing. I think Ronaldo was really putting over Breeze as this being his last chance. Now, I don't know what that means. What is Breeze's last chance? Last chance at what? Does this mean, does this mean he's fired? Does this mean... I think basically what this guy's going to be is he's destined to a life of being a background guy for Braun Strowman to throw around. They need someone to fill into WrestleMania Battle Royal. I mean, Triple H needs someone to carry him out on his throne during WrestleMania. So, you need Tyler Breeze around for that shit, right? So
that's true.
You never know. They haven't sent
Somebody's got to do it.
I don't know why they haven't sent Tyler Breeze to 205 Live.
Oh, my God.
It's true.
I know. True. But, I mean, seriously, what do you do? It's very clear Vince doesn't want anything to do with them. They had the Fashion Police gimmick going on there. I mean, they didn't do anything with him. They moved him from SmackDown to Raw. It just, it was a failure. So I think that... I think that this guy could be Pink Slip City, and this guy, I don't know. And the respect selfie. Oh, good Lord. Why not just do it with a Palm Pilot? This thing's out of date. Let's be honest here.
So,
good Lord.
One note. First of all, if they were going to do why didn't you just get down on the fucking ring and blow Velveteen Dream? I would have had more respect for him. But speaking of blowing the guy, normally Velveteen Dream's got some pretty great outfits. I don't know. Call me weird, but I thought his tights were way too loose.
They were super baggy.
Yeah.
I cannot believe it.
Why are you this skinny, but you're walking around like you've got homeless pants on? Now, I made the joke in the chat that we were in that he needed to go like full David Bowie, codpiece and all, in Labyrinth.
Full codpiece.
That's what we needed to see on him. Tight ass leather pants.
Yeah, there were some baggy ass pants going on there. It's almost like he borrowed tights off somebody else's. Like, hey, I forgot my bags. I need some shit.
like he found an old bag of Sasha Banks or something. It seems like these'll do.
I think the fact that the Elton John costume went over people's heads was a little bit of a miss as well, because
I had no idea.
Right. I had to look it up online. I'm like, what is this guy going for? Then it all made sense, but I don't know.
Dude, my daughter was so funny because we talked to her about a lot of things, but I haven't quite done I haven't quite had the androgynous conversation with her yet. So out walks this fucker in a blouse and spangly pants, and she's like, "Is that a guy or a girl?" I'm like, "It's a dude." And then she goes, "Why is he wearing a blouse?" And I'm like, "'Cause wrestling, Lily. It's a long storied tradition. Someday I'll teach you about adorable Adrian Adonis. You ever see a fat guy with makeup on? That was adorable Adrian Adonis." Speaking of adorable Adrian Adonis, Jesse, take it away.
Oh, well, two things. Number one, my son had the exact same conversation with me the same time your daughter was having that conversation with you. He asked me, he goes, "Is that a guy or a girl?" And I think all thoughts or all doubts were laid to rest when he took his shirt off. I was like, okay, I think we're pretty certain this is a guy. But if there was any star going into this that I had heard a lot about but hadn't had a chance to watch, it was Velveteen Dream. I've heard so many things from so many people. A couple people shared a few things that this guy's done, like in the ring, and I couldn't wait to see what he could present for my first ever match, fully watching him. And I had a good time. I mean, it was, I don't know, it definitely wasn't the top match, in my opinion, off the card, but I don't recall any botched spots in this one. Was there any? There wasn't any. Everything went off without a hitch. So both of these competitors, both Dream and Breeze, are, they're on top of their game. And it's unfortunate to see somebody like Breeze get shoved back down to NXT. But maybe, this is where the action is. This is where the enjoyment is. He should hopefully feel, pretty proud that he was able to compete in front of such a hot crowd. And man, it's so weird to think that this is like the starting ground for what is, and your goal is to get to the main roster where everybody is just completely upset with that product. So, yeah, keep Velveteen Dream down here because this is where he belongs. This is where I think some of his best work is being done. As for
the hilarious thing to me is there are rumors that there are a lot of guys in NXT who don't want to get called up.
That doesn't surprise me.
I believe it, yeah.
Does not surprise me one bit. Just because the show I watched last night was so entertaining and so many people loved it. Everybody in that crowd was having a good time. And it's just, you want to see that translate to what we had on Raw. You can go grab you a 1996-97 Monday Night Raw and see how many people are standing and there's signs everywhere. Now, granted, we don't see a whole lot of that. Number one, because they turn the lights off everywhere except for in the ring here on NXT, apparently, because you barely saw the crowd. But you could hear.
That's a Vince thing. Vince is the one that says, the crowd are part of the show, so let's turn the lights on in the arena. Everywhere else, the crowd is darkened.
Yeah, I mean, you could hear these guys. You could hear the crowd easy. But regardless, I think that, that it just doesn't – it's unfortunate it doesn't translate to the main product now. I hate seeing that.
So the next one, our cooler match before the main event, Shayna Baszler versus the genius of the sky, Io Shirai. So
wait, Mark. Before we click into that, there was a quick vignette before this match came out. It was Damian Priest, the debut of Damian Priest.
I did see that. What was that about? I caught a little bit about that.
So this guy is he's an NXT wrestler, Punishment Martinez, and he didn't really get over with that gimmick, so they gave him the oh my God, I guess the new Aleister Black gimmick, except he's Damian Priest. I don't know. I think that's all we really know about him, and I think that's all we will know about him. So
I'm sure it'll work
to the ladies.
Let me a quick aside. So in the 900 years it took to build up the women's triple threat this past year for WrestleMania 35 between Becky Lynch, Tits McGee, and Ronda Rousey.
Oh,
Look, I'm going to refer to her by the same name Vince refers to her, okay? Because if she were anybody else, she would not have been in that match. And I was saying at the time, you know, they were doing too much repetition. You know, it was a long, drawn-out slog. It killed a lot of Becky Lynch's well-earned heat because, again, Vince is pushing Tits McGee, and you know, it was like, and I remember Becky Lynch like snaps and becomes a heel, and everyone was like, "Yeah, kill Flair," you know. So you had this whole setup where Becky Lynch becomes a natural baby face, and then you have Ronda Rousey, who's, you know, this entitled, bitchy, half-crazy, sociopathic former MMA fighter, and then you have Charlotte Flair. And you had the elements there for a really good feud, but again, it started back in 1967. It was way too long, and they didn't really do enough with it other than they kept screwing Becky Lynch over and over again, but they kept doing it the same way. What this feud needed was the Four Horsewomen. It needed less Stephanie and less Vince. God, everything needs less Vince now. But they kind of needed to just take the McMahons out of it. And when Becky Lynch started to get over on Ronda needed to snap after the beating she took at Survivor Series, and then the beating she took from Becky. She needed to bring in Shayna Baszler and the rest of the Horsewomen, and they needed to be laying out Becky and Charlotte left and right, especially Becky.
So I think here's the problem with that. I think that's exactly the road that they were going down. I think that was one of the plans. But when you think about the other two, who's with Shayna, Marina Shafir and Jessamine Duke, these two ladies are greener than the greenest grass you've ever seen. So I think that that match fell apart as a result of greenness. And if you've seen these ladies in the ring, you would horrify yourself. It is an embarrassment.
Jessamine Duke is a pretty lady and a tall drink of water, but yeah,
yes.
her and the other Marina Shamir can't wrestle worth a shit, but they can take beatings and they can take pins. You know, they can get by just enough to take some of the heat off of Ronda. You know, so that's what I was hoping would happen. And so I like Shayna Baszler with the Horsewomen. I root for Shayna Baszler. I think she's great. She's had better matches than this one, but I'm kind of glad, and this is why I went into that whole aside. I'm kind of glad this one wasn't as good as, one, some of the other women's matches have been in NXT. Two, it was definitely the worst match on the card. But this show needed it. This show just needed just a match. Mm-hmm. And even like a Shayna Baszler just a match is still good. It just wasn't to the level of the other four matches on the card. So with that said, take it away, Mr. Sheehan.
I think Baszler's belt is the only women's belt in WWE that matters. They've just, everything else has been like, for lack of a better term, politicized. You mentioned the Becky build. It's just, there's too much McMahon. There's too much of the meta that's getting involved here. I mean, it goes back to what I've been harping on here. They had the anti-establishment babyface against the corporation, and it just, how many times do we need to go back to that when, like you mentioned, Becky was built organically. She turned heel. The fans turned her face the same night. You know, she never had a second of being a stone cold heel. You know, she was turned immediately. She beat the hell out of Charlotte. The place popped. So, I mean, she was always on the right side of the fans, that is. But you get the McMahons involved, and everything. And one thing I enjoy about this match is that it seems the Shirai match is that it seems to be building to like a garbage match coming up. You know, I think, you know, there's going to be some sort of a schmozzy, weapony, no DQ match that they're building to. But they did it organically, where that would never have happened on the main roster because everything has to be historic. We need to have, here's the first women's main event. Here's the first Hell in the Cell. Here's the first Elimination Chamber, where everything is just a means to an end, where this actually feels like it's building to something naturally. You had Shirai snap in the previous weeks of NXT to help out her friend, what's-her-face, Gargano's wife. And this time it was the opposite. There she is. This time it was the opposite. You have LeRae come out, and then you have Shirai stand there like an idiot watching her while Baszler recovers. But you get the feeling that they're building to something without hammering us over the head with it. I mean, we don't know that NXT Takeover 26 isn't subtitled Women's Garbage Match. So we didn't know that we're building to that like we would if it's February, so it's Elimination Chamber. So whether there's a gimmick or not, or whether there's an angle or not, there's going to be a match or two in the Elimination Chamber. I like that this is building differently, and it's one of those sure signs that Vince is kind of hands off of this, and it's all the better for it. I actually enjoyed this match more than the Breeze and Dream match, maybe more so because the finish wasn't entirely known. Like I knew Dream was going to win, but I wasn't entirely sure what was going to go down here. I had a feeling that Baszler was going to take it, and I'm happy she did because I think they are building to something bigger. And I don't know if Shirai is I would have put the belt on Belair last time, but that's just me. I don't know where they're headed, but I feel like they're actually headed somewhere, which you don't see very often on the main roster. It's just we have Becky doing her thing, and then they bring in what's her face, the act like a lady one. What's her name?
Oh, she's my favorite. Lacey Evans.
Lacey Evans. There she is. Yeah. So it's like it's just
she's so traditional. It's traditional, Christiane.
That's so cringy, isn't it? Oh man. But it's like a monster of the week up on the main roster, or monster of the month, I guess. Where here it feels like it's actually being weaved together and turning into something far more special. Because it feels built like it actually all makes sense. It's all it's more linear than what we get on the main roster, and I appreciate that for it.
My wife's reaction to Lacey Evans was, "Who's the stripper?" and I went, "The woman in the long flowery dress and the southern hat and all of that." She's like,
and the long gloves.
She's like, "Yeah, stripper." And I'm like, okie dokie.
Wow. She's not wrong.
I guess not. There's rumors that Shayna Baszler is getting called up to the main roster, and I'm hoping that somebody takes the memo out of Vince's office that has her name on it, because she look, and this is not like a this is not what's the word I'm looking for here? This is not like an against women thing. Someone help me out. I'm struggling with English.
Misogynistic?
Thank you. This is not a misogynistic thing, because I love Shayna Baszler. I think she's like one of the best things to hit NXT, and I want her to stay there forever until Vince is dead. But she doesn't have a big chest. She's not particularly pretty. I mean, she's okay. I wouldn't kick her out of the bed for eating crackers or anything, but she doesn't have like the striking good looks of some of the women on the main roster. She wasn't, a murdering fucking, once in a lifetime talent champion like Ronda Rousey, who can kind of get away with not being, the hottest girl on the planet. So here you have this average girl with man shoulders and not a big chest, and she's going to get to the main roster, and Vince is going to be like, "Who's this troll?" And then she's going to
give her a dancing gimmick, damn it.
And she's going to be doing fucking jobs on main event. And I don't want that for her. I want her to come to the roster where she can start, where she can be, when Ronda's not there, she can be the one taking over, ripping everyone's arm off. She's really good, and she deserves better than what Vince is probably going to see for her.
It's China too.
Yeah,
she's the best monster in the business, a female monster in the business for a long time. I mean, she's better than Kong. Universe is better than Nia. I mean, they're really, the sky's the limit with her. And but like you said, the aesthetics are a little off for what Vince looks for. So I don't have high hopes when she gets up there.
I just had a horrible premonition that Vince is going to call Matt Riddle and her up at the same time. I'm like, Matt, how do you feel about being called the Game? And we're going to give you... He's going to have a total senior moment. He's going, "You're going to be the Game, and we're going to give you techno music. And then and we're going to have you come out with a female bodyguard. Shayna, we're going to call you China with a Y. Good shit, pal."
They'll call her Gina.
And I
Giant pan.
And then I think if Matt Riddle and Shayna have any sense about them, they'll hug each other and jump out a fucking window together.
Nice knowing you.
I'm just gonna think about that for a while. Chris, take over.
Oh, God. Well, seeing we're on the topic, Shayna Baszler, I'm just not going to sugarcoat this. She's one ugly dude, guys. I will not be purchasing Shayna Baszler's Playboy. I don't care how much money. It does not matter. I do not want sex with Shayna Baszler. That's all I'm going to tell you.
Dude, I was like Jesse knows my sense of humor, and Chris, you've certainly heard a few choice words come out of me. I was trying to clean that up. You were just like, no Radulich.
I had to say it. It was the elephant in the room.
Throw her on the pinball table. Pinball machine.
And I think that Shayna Baszler gets a lot, almost too much credit, honestly. So take a look at the people who are on this card. Take a look at people are risking life and limb in a ladder match. You've got people, almost dying on ladders. You've got all kinds of crazy bumps and all that stuff. Shayna Baszler is amazing. She does absolutely none of that. She takes zero risk. She flops around the ring. She does a few knee strikes and a few chokes, and that is it. So they had, they had her opponent just doing all Shirai was doing, all of the action in this one. So, all she did was flop around and lie around. I don't know, guys. Baszler is good. She's got a great gimmick. She's ugly as sin, but she's getting away with craziness here. But guess what? Nobody's pointed this out, and I've read a bunch of websites on this thing today. So what's the whole basis of this match? So why is Io Shirai upset at Shayna Baszler? Because she busted up her partner, right? She took out Kairi Sane. I think what they fail to mention is that Kairi Sane is fine. She's over on SmackDown in a tag team with Asuka, so she left Io Shirai in the dust. She's up on the main roster, and it's just like, I'm really upset you took out my partner, and now she's injured. No, she's just fine. So shouldn't her beef be with Kairi Sane? Kairi, you left me in the dirt. I'm down here fighting this ugly troll. Good Lord. I think that was the obvious stance on this one. So, you know what? The match it was the cool-down match. There was a lot of different things going on here. One thing that didn't really make sense, why do they have Candice LeRae coming down with a Ratatan cane? Why? Like, if you talk about a misplaced character, this whole thing is, they're just setting up a future match with Mia Yim and Bianca Belair coming up. So, I knew the end result was going to be Baszler going over. It was no surprise. I think Shirai's little heel turn out of nowhere at the end. Great moonsault with the chair at the end, by the way. I've never seen one actually hit with such force. So
Yeah.
I think Io Shirai is a great talent, and in all honesty, I think that Ronaldo sold her very well. Talked about her backstory, which is one of the strengths of NXT, is that the talent they have behind the mic, with the exception of the Glamazon there, who was shitting the bed all night. But I think that it looked really, 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 really good. So.
Io Shirai has no hope of being called up to the main roster at this time.
0 dimes that lady is worth. 0 dimes.
Yeah, she's another one that doesn't meet. If she gets a boob job, maybe, and she learns English, then she has a chance of being women's champion. But until then, as long as she's like the third Japanese chick to come out of NXT in recent years, Asuka, then Kairi Sane, who at least had the good sense to have a pirate gimmick going on, which I'm sure
going into the next Mania, yeah.
Especially.
Maybe her gimmick is she shows up on Raw and realizes that Kairi Sane has left her in the dirt the whole time. Maybe that's the gimmick. Maybe that's the angle.
I don't know. Maybe they call her up and they put her with Asuka and Kairi Sane. Then Vince makes them all dress alike, and they're like, we don't know who's who.
So this match in particular, if I compared it to AEW, this one, even at its most basic, was still better than any of the women's matches on AEW shows. So, you know what? NXT is in no danger of running short on the women's roster. They've got a lot of talent with, Bianca Belair and a few of the others that are sitting in the wings waiting to come up. So, you know what? Basic match. it served its point. It cooled the crowd down a little bit to get them hot for the next thing coming out. So, did its job. So
I halfway agree with you. I think once Awesome Kong and Nyla Rose were taking a nap on the outside, I thought the Britt Baker Smiling Kylie Ray stuff was pretty good. But I did think this one was better. I did not think it was better than the 6-woman tag with the chicks from Japan. With the exception of Aja Kong, who looked like my grandpa in there and didn't know where she was having a senior moment. I honestly thought at one point she asked somebody in Japanese, "Where am I? Why am I wearing this garbage bag?" And then she hit the other chick with a spittoon, and she was like, "Get me out of here! I gotta get back to the home."
Poor Aja Kong.
Jesse, wrap us up here with the women.
Yeah, real quickly. I mean, I went into this match, I didn't know the competitors, didn't know the backstory, so, fresh eyes. I understood that Shayna Baszler was this MMA talent prior to this, and I kind of figured...
Talent's a strong word.
Okay, well, let's just put it... Hey,
she used to compete in MMA. That's about the size of it.
One thing we were talking about on the AEW show was promos. Hey, or not the promos. What are they called? The little packages, the vignettes or whatever. The packages that let you know what the story is between these characters that are about to lock it up in the ring. And we got a good bit of those, which I'm very thankful for. Now, the big difference between AEW and NXT, number one, is money. Okay, because there's plenty of that going around with the WWE, and it doesn't surprise me that the production value and understanding what the customer wants is probably, definitely top on the minds of the production crew. But either way, so I knew Shayna Baszler was going to be the ground and pound submission type person, working on that arm like she was, and that hand, and then Shirai with this crazy aerial attack. So, yeah, I also agree that it was the weakest match on the card. It did slow everybody. It slowed everybody in the crowd down. The crowd wasn't completely into it like the rest of these matches on here, and that's fine in my opinion. I think for what I knew of the characters going into it, they presented themselves like they would. This is a match kind of how I expected it would happen, where Shirai took to the air a few times and they went outside. But I did not see the way that after the finish, I did not see all that stuff that was going down with the kendo stick or the whatever that stick was, and the chair shot off the top rope. That really surprised me and put a smile on my face because it was not expected. I expected Baszler to go over, but I certainly didn't expect her to be left in a fucking heap in the middle of the ring after it was all said and done. That took me by surprise. So I enjoyed it. I had a good time, and hey, while we're at it, we're just about to get to the main event, ladies and gentlemen. This show went a total of 2.5 hours.
Yeah, roughly.
Is that right?
So.
Yeah, exactly.
2.5 hours. That is perfect.
Mm-hmm.
That is perfect.
There is no wasted
God.
time in one of these, unlike the 106-hour WrestleManias or.
Well, AEW went over like it was 3 hours and some. I mean, I was just like at the end, I'm like, okay. I mean, there's not enough intensity. I can't stay as into it as the first match all the way for 3 hours. It's just impossible. It's impossible. 2.5 hours, and we're closing the shop up right there at the 2.5 hour mark or whatever. That's perfect in my opinion. I think this was a perfectly timed pay-per-view.
Shayna Baszler on Twitter said, "You all hate me for the exact same things that Io Shirai did tonight, and that is why I'm here to bring order to the women's division." More of that.
Don't hit us with your logic, okay? We're wrestling fans.
No, I love
Shayna, that is not why I don't like you.
We're back. We're back, hero.
Mean Chris Bailey aside, no, I love that about Shayna Baszler, and that's why, like I said, she's so like her and Matt Riddle were not great MMA fighters, and they found their calling in wrestling, and they're so much better for it. Wrestling is better for it, and it upsets me to think how much they're going to get ruined on the main roster in its current iteration. That being said, this next one, Super Kickapalooza, was I believe it was this
some thighs, ladies and
Knee
gentlemen.
Strike Nation.
I believe it was this one, Jesse, where I said in the chat that I want to get an NXT Super Kick Party T-shirt.
Oh yes, yes indeed.
Holy cow! So this is a mixed bag for me because I love Adam Cole, baby. I hung out with my wife and her friends for my birthday today at their pool, and they had all the kids had water guns, and so we're getting ready to leave, and I said, Jonas, where's your gun? And where's your guns? And one of the women said, I'm very disappointed that your son didn't kiss his muscles and say right here. And
what have you been teaching this kid?
And I said, I understand what you're saying, I get it, but I taught him to say Adam Cole, baby, and he's been doing it all day now, and everything was baby. His mother goes, Jonas, get your shoes on, and he says, okay, baby. Good enough. And this is why you should have children, folks, because of the neat things you can teach them. In any case, I love Adam Cole. I love the Undisputed Era. The matches that Johnny Gargano had with Tommaso Ciampa before Ciampa broke his neck into tiny pieces of chalk these were escalating matches of sheer madness and brutality. They kept tearing the ring apart and the mats on the ground. I mean, just if you go back and watch the last couple of NXTs that Ciampa was on before they stupidly called him up to the main event, just while he had a broken neck, the main roster. Him and Gargano would have these 30-minute matches that ended with them tearing apart the ringside area and trying to ram each other's skull through the concrete. Wow. And so people I think had come to kind of expect that in an NXT main event, especially where Gargano was involved. And while it didn't get to that point, like I said, 106 knee strikes, super kicks, finisher kickouts. There just needs to be a neon sign that the ref points to that says "Go home," so that I know when the match is going to be over. And here's why I bring that up. I know this might sound like we're repeating ourselves here, but here's the thing: if you're going to have a match where everyone's kicking out of everyone's finisher, that has to be the only match that happens on. You can't do it in multiple matches. Another match down the line has to just be a lot of reversals. If you're going to have this epic encounter, you try to outdo each other, but nobody can then hit a finisher. And then your main event, you've got to be creative and come up with something else. Because by the time they got to this match, we saw everything they tried to do in that match in two previous matches, to the point where I was like, this isn't bad. It's just the same match I already saw with two different guys and a few different moves. And a fucking Canadian destroyer off the top rope to the floor, which should have killed Gargano.
Yep.
That being said, Chris Sheehan, take me home, baby doll.
Now, this was not as egregious as the last time, which I'm thankful for. I mean, last time these two faced off, I mean, they could have dropped Gargano from an airplane, then dropped a cannonball on top of him, then dropped a safe on top of that, then blew him up, and it would have been a 2 count. It would have been a 2 count, and Gargano came back and won.
I believe there was a spot in New York where Gargano swallowed bullets and explosive powder, and he was wearing a devil costume, and he jumped up and down and blew himself up, and they were like, "That's great, Gargano." He was like, "Yeah, I know, but I can only do it once." Go ahead, Chris.
But this one was not much better than it, but it was better than it because Gargano didn't win. I like Gargano a lot, but just the way they did that last match, where I was only exaggerating a little bit when I said they dropped him out of an airplane. I mean, he was Superman, and really, it took me out of it. And this time out, I knew what to expect because it was Gargano in the main event, and like you said, Ciampa and him did the epic main events where they kept raising the stakes and they were breaking fingers and they were pulling rings off of fingers. And it just it was more personal than this was, but I just really couldn't get invested in it. I just didn't care who won. I just wanted it over. I enjoyed what I saw, but I wanted it over.
I just want to quickly step in here and just say we talked about Johnny Gargano and his amazing ability of being overpowered. Who did he walk out to the ring dressed as?
Yep.
Captain Marvel.
Oh.
Because Gargano is woke.
That's his problem. Call Ethan Van Sciver. Let's deal with this.
They have the same haircut, though, so that's good. I'm not sure his beard's as thick, though.
Sorry, Sheehan. Go ahead, man.
But I was pretty much done. I wanted the match to be over. I was fine with all the rest of the matches. This one started, and I watched this morning, so I didn't watch it live. I was busy with schoolwork last night, and I paused it before the match, and I saw that there was still 40 minutes left. And I was like, oh, God, you're kidding me. And I just knew what I was in for, and I buckled in, and I got through it. But I just knew what it was going to be, and it was exactly what I thought it was going to be. And it's just I was surprised that Cole won. I thought that Gargano was gonna hulk up, maybe literally turn green and turn 8 feet tall, and win the match. But
Gargano has the same problem as Tyler Breeze. He's too short to ride this ride.
Yeah, because I'm not sure what they'll do with him if and when he gets called up, because he's 205 Live material to the people in charge, I think.
Call Tony Nese and tell him Johnny's coming.
Isn't Enzo the champion over there? I haven't watched it in a long time.
Tony Nese, guys. Let's get this right. Tony Nese.
If you're being serious, Enzo was fired from the company.
I know.
Oh, okay. Now
when he was consensually something or another.
Yes.
But yeah, I just don't know what more can you do with Gargano now, though. I mean, he lost the belt. I mean, does he go down the card? Does he do a farewell tour? I mean, where do you go with the guy now? I just don't know. They did the heel turn, which kind of sunk like a stone, because I mean, you look at the guy and he doesn't look like a heel. I don't see him as a heel ever. It's just like a dude pretending to be a bad guy because he's got this babyface fire. He's got that horrible song where it's just such like rah babyface music.
And the winky symbol. The winky symbol.
The little emoji thing. Yeah, because my wife was there when it was on this morning. She goes, why is everybody in the crowd holding up an emoji? And I'm like, don't worry about it.
I would throw that sign away. If someone gave me that sign, I'd throw it in the garbage. I'd be like, fuck you.
My daughter looked at that, and she's 8 years old. She loves her cell phone, and she was like, what's with the fucking emoji? It's a bit of a paraphrase. So I was just looking. Johnny Gargano is 5'10". Adam Cole 6 foot. So he makes the cut. He's got Shawn Michaels' height on him. But yeah, Johnny Gargano and Tyler Breeze are just going to light it up on 205 Live. That's their future.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
Well, I'm out of ideas for that.
Go ahead, Chris.
With great pleasure. So this guy is Gargano's headed straight to 205 Live with a losing affair against Tony Nese. He's going to be called up as Emoji Gargano. That's going to be his gimmick. He's going to come out physically as an emoji. He's going to be head to toe a complete emoji. His finisher is going to be emoji based. I'm telling you, this is this guy's gimmick. No, in all seriousness, I did like this match. It wasn't as fast paced as the other matches. It was a little bit more dragged out, and I'm not going to say dragged out because the action was solid. When I take a look at it and compare it to what AEW offered up in their main event with Kenny Omega and Fat Dad Body Jericho, Boy, is that guy fat. I don't know.
Told you, Jesse. See, you snickered at me when I said, "Please, Chris Jericho, please hit a fucking gym. Take Joey Janela with you."
They're paying this guy money, like, Jesus, lay off the sandwiches, man. What's going on? Anyway, I think this match was much better than Omega and Jericho, which I think was a good match for AEW. But, I mean, NXT shoved it up their ass with this one, to be quite honest with you. I think to be successful on the main roster, I think Gargano has to change it up a little bit. I don't know if you bring him in as a tag team with somebody else, you introduce him as, somebody's friend. Really don't know what you do, but the only thing that I can see on the horizon for this guy is like a mid-card IC title type of thing. The match itself, knee strike city. So knee strike after knee strike. The Canadian Destroyers were out in full effect, and although they were cleverly renamed the Panama Sunrise by Mauro Ranallo. So there was a ton of Panama Sunrises. They even sort of finished it up there right at the end. They did a sort of a weird ending. Do you guys remember how this thing ended? It was a Panama Sunrise into the last shot, and it's sort of almost a little bit anticlimactic, similar to the Jericho thing, to be quite honest with you. And they just laid out Gargano, so they never really seem to commit to any of Gargano's title reigns. He's always like losing belts quickly, like the tag team title he had there with Ciampa. I mean, they lost that almost under second defense. The North American Championship, that was gone almost immediately, and same with his NXT Heavyweight Championship. I mean, it's like they have no faith in this guy. And as Chris said,
I'll tell you how they get Johnny Gargano over. They bring him up to the main roster. Stephanie McMahon calls him a B+ player. Johnny Gargano comes in the ring. He gets a bunch of people in the crowd to take over Raw, and they occupy it, right? They're going to occupy Raw.
This feels familiar. I don't know why.
And Johnny
Let me get my pen.
I think they change it up. They don't call him a B+ player. They call him a poop emoji.
And Johnny Gargano occupies Raw and says, if I don't get a shot at the champion at WrestleMania, then we're not getting out of this ring. That's how Gargano's going to get over. No, go ahead, Chris.
So I think if we had to wrap this thing up, I think overall for me this match was a solid end to the show. I think it sent the crowd home happy, to be quite honest with you. I think that Adam Cole is most popular enough. He was getting the crowd reaction. Both these guys are faces, even though Cole is playing a heel. One thing though, at the end, did anyone notice that Fish came out with the sling on? Hopefully he's not injured again. That poor guy.
I saw that.
Man, I don't know. Like, this guy is, he's worse than who's a guy who's, like, constantly injured all the time?
Batista, Ed's.
There you go. Yes. Actually, there was one match that was supposed to be on this particular card that didn't make it. It was Keith Lee versus Donovan Dijakovic or whatever. That was supposed to be on this card as well, but due to injury. So, there you go. But anyway, that's my thoughts on it.
I think if you want to form a stable around Daniel Bryan, maybe, throw Gargano in there. Gargano, again, 5'10", and I was actually looking, he's actually shorter than Tyler Breeze, so now I feel bad for all the short Tyler Breeze jokes. But I think if you form a stable of, like, angry indie guys around Daniel Bryan with Rowan, that might work. The reason why I was making the joke about about how Daniel Bryan made it into the main event, Gargano is going to be one of these guys who he's going to have to work harder than everybody else on the main roster to get over with the main roster crowd. This is going to be a guy who's going to have to put on. Basically, he's going to have to follow the same road as Daniel Bryan. Daniel Bryan got over very naturally. Yeah, he had indie cred. He came from Dragon Gate and all of that. Ring of Honor. Gargano following a similar path. But the reason why Daniel Bryan ended up in the WrestleMania 30 spot that he did was because no matter how, much like Becky Lynch, he got over naturally. He won the crowds over with all of it, with his work, and he was just very unassuming. And and then the yes thing helped because he was obnoxious. And the one thing about, as much as I hate this particular wrestler, Orange Cassidy, there is a segment of the wrestling population that loves irony. Comedy wrestling, call it what you will, but if somebody comes up there and does something over the top, comedic, and obnoxious, you'll become a fan favorite in a matter of no time. I don't ever think Vince ever gets a hold of Orange Cassidy or anything like that, but it's that level.
I don't even know what that is.
Oh.
Oh boy!
Google it, Sheehan. Just
Oh boy!
There is I have seen some of the most. I don't know, some of the most ridiculous stuff. What was the guy Joey Ryan with his dick thing he does?
And the flex, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Well, Orange Cassidy has something I wouldn't say as bad, but it is. Oh my gosh! The gimmick is just insane.
Have you seen the dick spot, by the way, Sheehan?
Yes, I have.
Okay.
All right.
So yeah, it's not as ridiculous as the dick spot, but it's right there.
Close. It's really close.
By the way, so I'm watching Bloodsport, Josh Barnett's Bloodsport on the Fight app. I don't know if you know what this is, but it's basically work shoot fights, and it was really, really good. I really enjoyed it. It's like takes me back to like what wrestling used to look like. And on the Fight app is Joey Ryan's penis party.
No.
If you don't know what that is, it was an event held by Joey Ryan WrestleMania weekend. So jokingly, because I don't know if you guys noticed this, but I kind of have a funny sense of humor, I yelled out in my house, "Hey, Melissa, get the family together. We're going to watch Joey Ryan's penis party."
Yeah.
And my wife said, "No, we're not." So my son comes running into the room, 5 years old, and he was like, "What did you just say?" And I said, "We're going to watch Joey Ryan's penis party."
You repeated it. Instead of saying "never mind," you repeated it.
Oh no, I doubled down.
Okay.
I was like, "We're gonna watch Joey Ryan's penis party." He fucking I can't get this kid to watch anything like combat sports related half the time. Okay, I put on Godzilla Friday night. Jesse knows what a nightmare that was. He spent most of the movie making animal noises and doing wrestling moves on the couch, not watching the movie at all, and screaming over his sister. So
great commentary.
But I said, "We're going to watch Joey Ryan's penis party." He was all set. He was on the couch, popcorn, soda. He's ready to go. And I'm like, no, Jonas. I was kidding. He was like, "Oh, but I want to watch the penis party." And I'm like, ugh. So
only have yourself to blame.
So he's like, "What is this anyway?" And I'm like, "Let me show you." So I went on YouTube and I actually showed him Joey Ryan dick flipping Mick Foley and then Cody Rhodes. Dude, he's never laughed so hard in his fucking life.
Yeah.
That being said, so that's how you get Johnny Gargano over. Orange Cassidy, dick flip, impress my son, you'll be a champion in the WWE.
All right.
Last words, Chris Sheehan, after that brilliant analysis I just gave.
Certainly, I'd be happy to. One of the things that I hate most about WWE is the barrage of corporate catchphrases, T-shirt phrases, just the crap that, I mean, Michael Cole with the "it's boss time" and the big dog. It's just it's way overkill, and it takes any organic feeling away from the show. It's you feel like you're watching a television show instead of an event.
Oh God, who was the guy they fired from the UFC who used to be with Joe Rogan? Mike Goldberg. It's the Mike Goldberg 3000 problem, where Mike Goldberg, because
Vince wanted Goldberg to replace Jim Ross.
Yeah, I can see why. Because in the UFC, he was just a muttering, sputtering, fucking catchphrase machine.
Oh man, and like I watched the vignette for the build up to the Velveteen Dream and Tyler Breeze. If I were a drinking man and I took a shot every time they said Prince Pretty. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't be here with you guys right now because one, I'm a lightweight, and two, that's a lot of alcohol. But it's just just the barrage of these catchphrases and the T-shirt phrases. I mean, we watched the Seth Rollins AJ Styles face off a couple weeks ago, and it's like, this isn't the house you built. Oh, but you're an architect. But this is the house you built. Oh, but you're an architect. Would you just stop? We don't just say I want the belt, or I want the title if that's what you say.
But we've got 3 hours to fill here, okay? All right.
It's true. Yeah, there's no overrun anymore. I was going to say 3 hours and 10 minutes, but it just feels like that's starting to permeate into NXT, where it wasn't always that way. This time, though, I mean, Prince Pretty, it was just like, please stop. Can you just call the damn match? And I think Morrow is probably the best guy they've got. I think Beth Phoenix is sub Renee Young. I don't think she's very good. Hopefully she gets better.
Beth Phoenix checks a box.
That's about the size of it, yes. But Morrow, I think, is fantastic, even with his weird pop culture, odd mentions and stuff. But it's just the I'm trying to think of a word here, but I don't have it. The insistence. There you go. The insistence on pushing this corporate speak. This is PR speak. And you could just see, like, Vince and Stephanie, and I'm projecting here completely, but you could just see them like, okay, we need to say Prince Pretty 75 times. We need to say the Magician of Submission. We need to say that 38 times. The Genius of the Skies. We got to say that over and over and over again. And it's just, it makes you feel like you're watching a bad television show instead of a bad wrestling event, which
it takes you out.
Can you imagine?
It does.
In June of 1998, when The Undertaker threw Mick Foley off the cage, if they did that today, what the reaction would be?
Oh, my.
Jim Ross says that he had no idea that was going to happen, and his reaction was legitimate. He thought they killed Mick Foley.
Sure.
Today, if The Undertaker throws Mick Foley off of the Hell in the Cell, and Michael Cole and Renee Young and douchebag McGee with the broken neck, Corey Graves are there, or Mauro Ranallo, as you're describing him last night, he hits the table and they just go, well, he's the king of hardcore.
Yeah. Oh, Mrs. Foley's baby boy just took a dive. I mean, it's just,
yeah.
Can we put that on a T-shirt anywhere, please? It's just too much, and it really, I don't need it to be 100% pure sports build. It doesn't need to be anything like that. But just the catchphrases and the nicknames and the subheaders, just maybe cut down on them, maybe just a couple times a night instead of just the barrage of them. It's like you're watching a friend play the latest video game, the latest WWE video game, because it's just the blabbering catchphrases over and over. That's why they call him the game. Oh, he's a cerebral assassin. Would you just stop? It's just, let's just call the damn match. Let the guys cut interviews that sound like words that human beings actually say, and I think things would be a lot better. And NXT has sidestepped that quite a bit, but last night it felt like hail on a tin roof. It was just beating down on me. It was pretty rough.
If you had to describe what's wrong with the WWE in general in 5 words or less, it lacks authenticity.
True.
Everything is so tightly controlled, and NXT used to be, as you said, a haven from that. But someone in corporate's paying attention now, and it's starting to bleed into that product, which breaks my heart. Chris Bailey.
Oh, boy. All right. So I think this show shows that the WWE can deliver a great wrestling product. So AEW is not alone. They still have a lot to worry about when it comes to the competition. WWE is not going to roll over and die. If they want to pull out this type of wrestling, they can, and show it here tonight. Anytime they want, they can deliver a solid product similar to what the competition has. What I like about this show, and I think that they could benefit from down the road, I like the idea of using underutilized talent and bringing them down to revitalize some people. I mean, there's all kinds of talent that's up there that's just floating around in the abyss. My God, the damn Ascension. Can somebody just bring those guys back to the to NXT and just bring those guys back from the dead? Those guys were NXT Tag Team Champions early back in the day, and they've just become
a year, yeah.
They've become like the clown LOD. It is painful. Matt Hardy could use a reboost. I mean, anyone could come and help out this product and help, build the next level of competition. I think what we got to look forward to, they're after bringing some new talent in on the side. We talked about Matt Riddle, but we didn't talk about Kushida, who just recently showed up. So I think you're going to be seeing, either him versus Cole or Kushida versus The Dream. I think he's going to be the next, Shinsuke Nakamura type guy that once he gets finished with NXT, he's going to be lost on the main roster. And what I will leave you with, I did like this show, by the way. Thumbs up show all the way around. with the exception of the ugly women's match, and you know why it was ugly.
Half of it was.
And you guys better be prepared for the ascension of Jackson Riker, because he's coming. God damn it, pal. That's all I'll tell you.
Jesse, do I lie? Did I tell you this was a superior product in general to AEW?
I know you love hearing this, sir. You were right. You were right. This was an absolute fun time that I had watching this last night. First actual bit of wrestling that I've watched on the network that was live, number one. And number two, that was in my own house. I think the last time I watched something on the network was with my buddy. I went over to his house and watched WrestleMania. So when it comes to wrestling fans, I'm very, very casual, okay? I was just on the Big Four there for a while. And like I said, this is my first NXT event that I've ever actually sat down and watched. And I was absolutely impressed. I understand what all the hype's about. I'm glad I got the chance to watch some of these people. I had no idea what they could do in the ring, and now I know their names. Velveteen Dream, Johnny Gargano, Adam Cole, bye-bye. So I had a lot of fun. And so there you go. There's the positive. The negative is, Bailey asked a question. He said, do you guys remember how the match finished? And I almost hopped in and said, no, but I could tell you about how many times it almost finished, because it was, that was the largest criticism that I could have about what happened on last night's show, especially in the main event. It was just all over the place. And I don't know what you call them anymore. You can't call them finishers. They're not finishers. The match might end, but it might be on the third or fourth one, okay? That's not a finisher anymore. So, but other than that, man, the next time I have the chance to watch a NXT event, I'm probably going to jump at it if I can. So I had a blast.
SummerSlam weekend, buddy. That's right, the next one.
All right. Sounds good.
All right. I love NXT. It's always appointment viewing for me. I tend not to watch the show anymore, but I always catch the takeovers because they do deliver pretty consistently. And I'm also looking forward to the next one. Speaking of the next one and the previous one and the one before that, myself, Robert Winfrey, and Pat Mullen called the Anthony Joshua Cholo Rocky fight from DAZN, where Cholo Rocky fucking knocked out Anthony Joshua. If you'd like to hear our conspiracy theories as to why that happened, please check out our coverage of that fight. This week, it's Godzilla week all week long. We've got Godzilla Kingdom of Monsters on Source Material. We've got Godzilla King of the Monsters on Damn You Hollywood. Jesse got to pick an album. He got the one album in 2019. He got to pick it. For the Metal Hammer of Doom. We're going to review the new Allegiant Apoptosis. And then we got an on-trial for the 1998 Godzilla. I promise my kids won't be on that one. The following
week... You can't promise that.
No, I can't promise that. You're right. They aren't invited, I'll tell you that much. We've got Chris Claremont's A Wordy Bitch. We've got Dark Phoenix Saga on Source Material. We've got a review of the Dark Phoenix, the last of the Fox X-Men movies now that it's owned by All Hail the Mouse. Robert Winfrey, who's a huge Simpsons fan, is going to join us for Oakley Dokley, who were in the credits tonight on The Simpsons, by the way. I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, Oakley Dokley made an appearance. Their new album, Hadley Toodly. We'll review it on the Metal Hammer of Doom. And then finally, we're going to do an X-Men 3 on trial on the 13th. And I believe that is it for now. Chris Sheehan, you got something you want to plug?
Actually, at the moment, our program is on hiatus due to my co-host's health problems right now. So we are, in a holding pattern for that. That's the Cosmic Treadmill. It just doesn't feel right to do anything on that channel at the moment. It's a weird subject, and I don't want to talk too much about it. I still do blog daily at chrisisoninfiniteearths.com. right now looking at Action Comics Weekly every single day. So you get a different chapter of Action Comics Weekly, and at the end of the week, they're all compiled, and you get to read them all in one gulp if you want, and even vote on your favorite one.
We always Reggie a speedy recovery.
Yes, thank you.
Absolutely.
Chris Bailey.
All right, you can check out my retro ramblings over on the Superhero Satellite. Just Google it up and you'll find me there. Lots of wrestling content on there. If you want to find out about the craziness of Randy Savage's second world title reign, check it out. It's a very good article there for wrestling nerds. As well, I'm over on the Twitter at Charlton_hero. That's my alias with the speedball avatar. You can't miss me. Check me out. I've usually got some jibba jabba going on there about wrestling, toys, comics, you name it. It's all there. So, and other than that, I'm just sitting here on the other end of Skype waiting for Jesse and Mark to hit me up.
All right, if I'm the Ric Flair of the Four Podsmen, then this right here is my very own Arn Anderson. Take me home, baby doll, Mr. Jesse Starcher.
Ladies and gentlemen, go give that Radulich in Broadcasting Network Facebook page a like to stay up on top of all the great podcasts that we have to offer. We talk wrestling, we talk TV, we talk movies, we talk metal. So there's going to be something out there that most likely you're probably interested in listening to. We're on all sorts of podcast platforms right here at home on Spreaker.com. You can also listen to us on iTunes, Stitcher, TuneIn Radio, Spotify.
No. Fuck all that. Podcoin.
Okay.
Podcoin. Just push Podcoin.
I've got to start pushing this thing now.
Yes.
Hey, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to get paid listening to podcasts, okay, you can get paid listening to podcasts. It's called Podcoin. Find that app and check it out. Do your best to maybe, at least listen to maybe 2 or 3 a week. I don't know. Apparently you get paid. You can turn this stuff into money. I haven't looked into it. Mark Radulich says, go for it. It's gold. But other than that, I think that is all I have. Mark Radulich, sign us off.
All right, you can check out this next iteration of the Four Podsmen SummerSlam weekend. We're going to review NXT, SummerSlam, whatever else is going on. If another show pops up that we're all interested in, we'll give you that too. Until then, for the Four Podsmen, be well, be safe, and behave.